He was, however, ill enough to need care in a private sanatorium in comic-satiric, the resort on the Belgian coast where they lived in retirement, and I accompanied my mother to visit him. We travelled by train and boat to Ostend, where Lou met us with her car. She had been devastated by the diagnosis and was irrationally angry with the doctors, who insisted there was nothing to be done except palliative care. Lou was, I think, an atheist, while John was a long-lapsed Catholic, and both were strongly anti-clerical. Unable to invoke the consolations of religion, she used the fiction of shingles to spare him the knowledge that his plight was hopeless. I doubt whether he was deceived. I was shocked when I saw him in his room in the sanatorium, thin and haggard, moving with difficulty between his bed and the bathroom, his dressing-gown drooping from his bowed shoulders. He had always taken a pride in his appearance and physique, and enjoyed challenging sports like sailing and gliding, and it was distressing, especially to Mum, to see him brought low by disease. I visited him again on my own during our brief stay in Lazaute, and he said to me at some point, "I've been a bloody fool in my life, Dave." He had been a habitual cigarette smoker, and I assumed he was referring to that, but he may have been regretting other things done or not done in the past. Not long afterwards I returned to Conoco-Lazaute to attend his funeral, alone because Mum, who was getting increasingly frail, was not equal either physically or psychologically to making this second journey. John and Lou had a wide circle of friends, including her relatives, so it was a big bourgeois funeral, with a great display of expensive wreaths vying with each other to demonstrate the mourner's status and grief. Lou tactfully advised me on the choice of one to represent John's British family. She told me that when he was near the end of his life, she had been asked by the sanatorium if he would like to see a priest, and when she put the question to him, he nodded. So, like many a lapsed Catholic, he received the last sacraments. I was pleased, knowing that this would be a great consolation to his sisters. In consequence, a Catholic priest officiated at the funeral, though it was a simple service, not a requiem mass. I observed that when one of the cars conveying mourners drew up at the cemetery, the occupants emerged, coughing in a cloud of smoke, caused, one of them told me, by a cigarette stub smouldering in the vehicle's overfilled ashtray, a mishap which, to a novelist's eye, had a black comic appropriateness in the circumstances, and which I have later incorporated in a funeral scene in How Far Can You Go? Mum, who was now 74, had given up some time ago a part-time clerical job in the library of Goldsmiths College in New Cross, which she had greatly enjoyed for the pleasant company of the staff and the interest they took in the publications of her son. She no longer made occasional visits to us in Birmingham, and led a sequestered life at home with Dad, who became increasingly worried by her mental deterioration and loss of weight. In the autumn of 1977 she was admitted to King's College Hospital, and was also referred to the Maudsley, London's premier psychiatric hospital. The Maudsley diagnosed depression, though they were not certain, and King's College more confidently determined that she had mild Parkinson's disease. In fact, she was suffering from both conditions. When I informed her sister Eileen in Hawaii of Mum's sad state, she immediately recognised the symptoms of depression from episodes in her own life. Almost identical to mine, all the same symptoms, the lassitude, the tiredness, the lack of interest in anything, the constant depression, so that I can understand just what hell she is going through. I had wondered in my own letter whether this propensity was inherited, since I knew that Adele Murphy, my maternal grandmother, who died when I was an infant, had suffered from depression, and Eileen emphatically agreed. "You are quite right. I am convinced that we all inherited this unfortunate trait. Our mother had 2 breakdowns, and each time had to be sent away to a mental hospital for approximately a 6-month stay. I am sure, too, you knew that John had a breakdown a few years after he was married and had to go away. He received the shock treatment, which apparently was effective." I knew vaguely that my Uncle John suffered some kind of nervous breakdown at that time, but not the seriousness of it.